What's up, otakus? It's your tour guide here, and it's Saturday night, just chilling at home, and I thought I'd just put out a video. You know, last summer I did a video. It was actually a video that helped me a lot in terms of focusing kind of what I wanted to pick up, and also showcasing um, my favorite artists and the books in the collection. And you know, it hasn't even been a year. I think I put that video out in July, and it's right now is late April. But I thought it'd be fun to do that video again, just kind of revisit and do sort of it's a updated list um, in terms of, I guess, books in my collection by these artists. Yeah, I would say some of the books are upgrades. Some of the books aren't upgrades, but I'm just going to show a different book. For example, the last video I put out was from the Jim Lee book, was this the mirror set of Batman 608 second print and Superman 204. It was the CGC signature books that were still at CGC at the time. I've since gotten them back. But those are the probably two of my most favorite books in the collection. So again, we're not going to cover that for the Jim Lee. You all know that, Jim Lee's going to be my number one favorite artist on this list. But I do want to say that the order of the list has kind of changed, although the artists remain the same. So yeah, I mean, again, what's fun about this list is it could fluctuate and change over time. But for now, I did kind of take an inventory of like what's in my collection, what I collect, and the artists I like. And all in all, it hasn't changed all that much. Now, before we get to the list of my top 10 favorite comic book artists, I do want to recognize somebody who's not on the list, but is one of my favorite artists. And the reason I don't put him on the list per se is because there's just not really a lot of comic books by this artist that you can collect. And the artist I'm referring to is Reiji Matsumoto. Okay, Matsumoto Reiji-san. And this guy he's like the Stan Lee of comics. If you talk about really probably the most well-known is Osamu's. Osamu is probably the most well-known one for his work on Astro Boy and just so many kind of initial manga works. But in terms of style and influence that really influenced the entire genre, I don't think there's anybody that even comes close to Digimon. I mean, he was such a force, and his creations to this day still are really a favorite among the Japanese people. So just going to kind of show you some panels from the beautiful. This is the kind of panels you get, right? Ships coming out of battleships, or sorry, fighters coming out of battleships. You get a lot of great character work, and he's a guy that you just can't mistake his style of character work and just drawing battleships and all that. So just wanted to recognize Eiji Matsumoto, and I may go over, this is his work on Captain Harlock, a really underrated comic book, in my opinion. I would recommend going out and getting this and reading it because, you know, it's just incredible. It's an incredible character, and just really imaginative storytelling. Very different in tone from the what Americans know as Star Blazers. Very different from the Yamato comic book. This is a little bit darker, kind of edgier. Definitely, more action-packed, I guess you would say. But again, the character designs and the way he draws his characters are just, again, it's just, I think, quite like, and that's what I'm saying, like, you know, every artist has that sort of, you know, that design or that a signature style of their work that just makes it so recognizable. And that's the thing, like, that's what I appreciate about, I didn't used to like Kirby art until you continuously see kind of like his panel work and how he spaces and the action that comes out of the panels, and you realize, man, that's a really, you know, it's a really difficult thing to manage, but Kirby does it so geniusly, and again, that style is just so indistinguishable. Distinguishable. So yeah, these two guys are definitely, I think, coming up. I mean, he's one of my favorites, irregardless. And you know, he recently passed, so just it was just a big loss. And I've just been kind of diving into the comic books because, again, I didn't read his books growing up. I just watched the animation as a kid, the cartoons, and those had a big impact on me. Films, but now I'm going back and really appreciating the manga, the stories, and I'm telling you, it's, man, if you love comic books, it's, I think people who love comic books understand, like, as great as movies are, and as great as, you know, seeing it, whether it's live action or something in animated format, when you that's your first introduction to something, and then you go back and read the comic books, it makes you appreciate the books so much more. I really find the books to be, especially in manga, I find the manga books to be more engaging than the animation, and it sometimes, I think, is a detriment to watch like animation first and then go into the books, because the books have just so much more detail. You're able to use your imagination more rather than have everything kind of told to you. So yeah, I think a good sequence would be to watch, read it first, then watch it on the big screen. But if you don't get that opportunity, the next best thing is to just, after you watch something, to go back and read it, because again, it is just a different more enjoyable format to take part in. Okay, so let's get to my list of favorite artists. So I'm going to drop the link on this list that I did last year. I'm going to put it in the description. You can go back and watch it. The format was a little different, where I introduced the artist first, and then and the sort of the books that the favorite book of that artist in my collection. And then as I was coming back down the list, I shared what was on my want list, things I wanted to add in the immediate future to the collection by that artist. So again, showed off books, and then as we were coming down, shared some of the books that I was targeting by each artist. So we're going to do something similar this year. The same concept. We're going to introduce books that are in my collection that I think are just representative of. I think for this list, I just focused on things that I picked up, like since the last time we covered, and then we'll go over the books that I want to add. This is number 10 on my list, and this changed. This changed from last year, because last year Michael Turner was, I think, number 10 last year, and this year, Mark Silvestri kind of dropped to number 10. Not to say I don't appreciate Mark Silvestri any less. I just, in my internal sort of like cataloging of like artists that I want to collect, and where I to kind of rank them, internally it just happened to be that I kind of moved up other artists and kind of reshuffled. But again, this list is the top 10, so just being on this list should communicate how important all of these artists are to me and my comic book collecting, or just my enjoyment of comic books. Definitely Silvestri had a big influence on what I was reading early on, and what I was collecting. I was collecting X-Men. So yeah, I remember this Inferno series. It was amazing. It just was really one of the best things that I engaged with at the time. So I added this copy over the past year since I did this video last, and I love this cover. The thing is, in that last video, I said I was targeting like Silvestri's first work in comic books, which was an early, an issue of King Conan, and I never got an opportunity to pick up that book, and it's a book I still want to pick up, but I think there's a lot. I realize there's higher priority books for Silvestri books that I should probably target, and so again, this was one of those books. Now, I'm not showing the actual copy of my book. I just I didn't want to get all the books out, so I just kind of downloaded some photos to just go over. But beautiful cover here. You got Mr. Sinister, you got Madeline Pryor, you got the Marauders. Just a great cover there. Love this book, and I want to pick up more of the Inferno pieces to my collection. They're still relatively affordable, so these are things I'll try to be picking up, on the cheap, but definitely I would look out. Now, the book that I want to add for Silvestri is this book, and that is Uncanny X-Men 221. It's the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. This has dropped quite a bit over the past year or so. So it's something I'm going to be picking up, but I think there's an opportunity here to pick it up without paying a lot. So we'll see. And again, this is a book, I don't necessarily need it in high grade. If I get it in high grade, that's fine, but I don't want to pay, this isn't a book I want to pay over $100 for. It's a book I would like to pick up raw, maybe for like 20 bucks or so. So that maybe be a little bit of a challenge, but I think it's definitely a possibility. This is a book I look out for every time I go to Jeff's to see if I can't pick it up for half price if he has it there. But yeah, he doesn't have the book, so we'll just continue to keep looking for it. All right, so the next artist on my list is Michael Turner. So Michael Turner went from 10 to 9. He's kind of switched places with Mark. And I picked up another copy of this recently. I think I have 3 copies of Turner's Superman 205, which is the variant to Jim Lee's. And I just love this cover. The more and more I look at it, the more and more I just see his greatness, right? It's such a beautiful piece of work. I just love everything about the character here, design here, the cape, the background of space, and the sunset there coming off the backdrop of Earth. So it's just really an incredibly stunning piece. Now I think the books I wanted to pick up of Michael Turner's on my last list, I was able to pick those up. They're basically his first appearance in comic books, as well as his first cover in comic books, his first comic book cover. So I was able to pick those up, pretty high grade copies. And I was also able to pick up some other books. So really I could have featured them on this list here, but I just wanted to feature this one. But again, Turner's a guy who we constantly find on the hunts, and again, try to pick him up as often as I can, given my budget and whatever. But definitely there are opportunities for me to pick up his books for like $0.25 and 50 cents. They're not the best graded copies, but for me, they don't necessarily have to be near mint. I just want to get more of his work into my collection. So yeah, this is just a reminder of that. Kind of why I do this is just to remind myself, look, there's a lot of stuff you could pick up, but let's stay focused on picking up the guys you want to add more of into your collection. So that this is the next book. Now there's a sort of a sketch version of this, a black and white sketch version, which I had in my collection, but I sold it with every intention of getting a nicer copy. And I realize it doesn't necessarily have to be the sketch cover. It can be this cover here. In fact, I like this colored version better. So this is something I'm definitely on the lookout for. I'll pay, if it's high grade, I'll pay up to maybe $5, but otherwise I'm looking to pick it up for around $1 or so, or half price. whichever one, but beautiful, Supergirl cover here. Love the colors again. Just love his character work. Absolutely just stunning. All right, next on the list, we are at number 8 on my list is Mike Zeck. Now, as you know, I got this copy. I put it on the list last year that I was out to get this, and it took some time to kind of find. I almost picked up a really kind of beat up copy, and was willing to kind of check it off the list, right? But I decided against getting the beat up copy. It was a $3 beat up copy, and I said, you know what? I think we can kind of hold out for it. And I was able to get a signed copy of this book for $15, signed by Mike Zeck. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, no way. So jumped all over it. Really happy with the price I paid. $15 for a Zeck signature book. Not slabbed, it's raw, but just beautiful book. I've shown it off. In fact, I could show it off here again. It's on my Instagram, and I love this cover. This is a key book because, excuse me, it's a key book because it features McFarlane interiors, which yeah, you don't see. Again, early. This is my copy right here. Hoping you can see it. Yep. So this is a shout out to Josh's Comic Books, Aaron from Josh's Comic Books. I'm sure all of you are following Aaron, but if you aren't, go give him a follow on Instagram. I just love his attitude. He has this sort of say no to FOMO and collect what you like kind of messaging, which, I think most collectors, that resonates with most collectors. But this was a book, I think he asked to submit what is your favorite Say No to FOMO book, and this is really my favorite that came to mind. Again, beautiful Zeck signature there. Just love the cover. It's a really high grade copy. Again, got for $15. Really lucky, actually. It's something I may get slabbed in the future, like CBCS or something. But for now, I'm just happy to have it in my collection. Again, it's a early McFarlane interior book. So just a key issue. Not key in terms of, first appearance or anything like that, but just key. This is a great set cover with McFarlane interiors. So I put it on your radar and thank me later. All right, we'll keep that off to the side here because I do want to show off maybe another book later. Next one. So there's a lot of Zeck books we can pick up. What I also love about Zeck is he was so prominent in the Copper Age, which is kind of how I see myself. I would say I'm a 90s collector, but at the same time, that would include like the Copper Age. So I really consider myself like a early modern Copper Age, early modern collector. Because the 90s were definitely a big part of my collecting. I'd say half. Because I stopped in 97 and I started collecting in 84, 83, 84. So we're talking about like a 14-year career. So half of that was spent in the 90s, and half of that was spent collecting books like this. So awesome. The Zek book I am targeting is, again, something I collected, Love of Spider-Man, something I read and collected as a kid. So for me, it would be to pick up this great cover here by Zek. Yeah, is a key as well. I think Craven and Berman appearance, it looks like. Just love that Zek work right there. Yeah, so this is something I mean, there's so many great Zek key books that I could have really focused on. There's there's that great battle between Wolverine and Cap. I think it's Captain America Annual. I would love to add that book to my collection. I just think this is a better book in terms of Zek art. More aligned with kind of what I collect, and yeah. But I mean, yeah, that Wolverine Cap cover is another one I wouldn't mind adding to the collection. All right, let's see what we got now. Number 7 on the list. Number 7 on the list. This is another artist who, again, in the reshuffle, kind of got pushed down. I think I had Larry Hama number 4 last year. And to take nothing away from Larry Hama is this comic book, G.I. Joe 21, is my absolute most favorite comic book of all time, the silent issue. As a kid, I must have read this thing like 1,000 times. And so for me, it was imperative when I got back into collecting, it was imperative for me to get a high grade slabbed copy of this. I got the newsstand. I didn't get the grade I wanted. I got an 8.0 sitting up there, which is fine. I was hoping for a 9.0, but so in that sense, I kind of overpaid, but don't mind at all. It's not like I'm going to go out and get another 9.0 or try to get a 9.0. I may purchase a 9.0 at some point, but for now, that 8.0 up there is fine. It's fine. I like it. Presents really well. It's a really clean copy, so I just don't mind. I don't feel like it's like a diminutive. I can't say this word, diminutive to my collection. So it's something I do really relish or cherish in my collection. All right, so this hasn't changed. So there's not a lot of Larry Hama artwork to collect. I mean, in terms of stories, I'm trying to collect all his, Wolverine and G.I. Joe books. That's a big lift. I think we'll eventually get there, but for now, it's not like a priority. It's just kind of one of those things. I can pick up Wolverine issues or G.I. Joe issues rather cheap. We'll do that. That's been getting harder and harder. I think those 2 titles are everybody's collecting, so it's one of those things like you don't find them in high grade oftentimes, and if you do, they're usually priced out. But yeah, I think next time we stop into Jeff's, we'll take a look and see if we can't pick up a few just issues from the run, some Hama issues from both of these runs for a couple dollars each. We'll see. So this hasn't changed either. This is the book I targeted last time. It's the book I'm targeting still. Red Sonja number 1. This is a key issue. Great Larry Hama cover. This along with the Judge at 21 are probably going to be the two cornerstones of my Hama collection, outside of what he did as a writer, but as an artist, yeah, those are the two. And I think that's about it. I mean, I know Hama did more work in comic book art, but these two really, if I have them, I feel like I'll have kind of scratched that itch in terms of what to pick up. All right, next we've got the one and only Peach Momoko. So Peach, last year on my list, I think was number 8 on my list, and I popped her all the way up to number 6 on the list. And I think she's going to continue to be an artist that will climb. I don't foresee her falling off this list anytime too. If anything, I'm just being very Asian in this regard, because I do feel like there is a seniority, and obviously there are artists that I really love and appreciate who are sort of, they kind of set the stage for modern artists. And in my opinion, their work is really kind of like the greatest of all time kind of level of contribution to this thing we call comic book art, right? And so I think Peach has, not that she has anything to learn from any of these individuals, but she still, I think, can be a better quote-unquote comic book artist. Now, she can continue to do her style and do her art thing. It's a very artistic. Her work is just, incredible. But sometimes what she does on a page isn't necessarily the best thing in comic books. And a good example is like what Leiji Matsumoto did. Leiji Matsumoto didn't spend time trying to be the most detailed and eye-catching thing. He just was like, I gotta tell a story, I got a panel to do it, and I'm just gonna get it done. And it was kind of like, it worked. He just kind of drew these things. Like, I don't want to say it was sloppy, but it was definitely kind of like, you could tell it was a time-driven task. Whereas a cover like this is like, it's just such a beautiful work of art. And again, this, you can't necessarily translate this into panel work. So what I'd like to see Peach do, and it's great that we're seeing more, like the fact that her Demon Days comic book, again, that's where you're seeing her develop and mature as a comic book artist, right? What the people who came before her kind of laid the foundation for, in terms of this is what this medium means, right? And it exists in manga as well. So she's not the most polished. She hasn't done much manga work in comics as well. So she's, again, kind of learning the ropes. She's such an amazing artist. It almost seems kind of ridiculous to say, hey, like, you got to learn the ropes of something when you're this good, right? But I do feel like, again, the more she does in comic books, like specifically comic book interiors, I'm not talking about covers anymore, I'm talking about the more she does work in comic book interiors, telling stories, doing panel work, doing the sort of the grunt work of this industry, I think the more she will begin to move up on my list. But yeah, just in terms of sheer talent and artistry, man, I think there's just really no one on her level, and that includes Jim Lee. That includes Jim Lee, right? I just can't see Jim doing it. He just doesn't. They operate on different levels, really. I mean, and not to say Jim Lee isn't talented. He's one of the most talented comic book artists ever, right? Could make the argument he's the greatest of all time. It's just, like, I've seen his process, I've seen Peach's process, and the way she makes it look so easy is rather an understatement. So, love her work. All right. So as you know, I picked up, and the thing I love about, I have this comic book. Okay, I picked it up, but the comic book only captures so much. This is sort of a larger canvas, captures more of her artwork, and just kind of not being distracted by the marauders or whatever, having it be a virgin image just so you focus on the image makes it so much more makes you so much more appreciative of its beauty. And I just love this piece. I would love to just get a print, like a virgin print, or maybe even there's a version cover of this, which I don't believe there is. But just to get this specific print signed by Peach at the con would be amazing. I'm hoping she has them. Again, I've got $400. I've got pretty much, I'm going to be alone this entire summer by myself without my son or my wife. They're going to be in Japan. So 3 months of just working and being by myself on the weekends. You would imagine with $400, it'd be a fun summer just hitting comic book shops and picking up books and having stuff to share with you all summer. And I was kind of looking forward to that, but then I got news. Peach Monroe was coming to Rose City Comic Con, which was the best and the worst kind of news you could get, because best in the sense that she's an artist we've been dying to meet. I've been dying to meet since I got back into books. And I'm just really excited about engaging with her in that in the convention context, meaning waiting in line, picking out prints from her booth. And again, I'm trying to reach out to her and get her to commission a work for me during this con, so I can have that original artwork in my collection. That's going to cost quite a bit of money. I know she has a range from like $50 to $500. We're going to try to get as max of that original art as possible. Not to say bigger is better, but kind of see what our options are. I am already kind of budgeting $300, so I have about $100 to work with at the con to pick up books outside of her pieces. But yeah, that's kind of what we're targeting. So really looking forward to that. Now, the flip side of that is this event is in September. So I have access to the $400 starting in June. It's going to take a lot of discipline to not do it. So I'm asking the comic book community to continue to remind me in the comments to not buy books. Just shout it out. Hey, otaku, don't go to half-price books. Don't go to comic book shops. 3 months. I can stay disciplined for 3 months and just go to Rose City and really splurge there on her artwork, man, I will be a happy guy, be a happy man. And that's where we're focused right now. I'm just kind of like, I know I'm showing you books that I want to pick up and things we're targeting, but that's really secondary to spending all my money on Peach Momoko at the con. Okay, so what are we trying to pick up for Peach books? I really would like this book. It's a variant to the Demon Days. It's her design of Psy, which is this alternate universe Psylocke. It's a really just simple kind of sketch of the character design that she probably, just, again, when she was meeting with the editor and pitching this story and character, this is what was introduced, right? And look at just the beautiful detail on how this obi is tied, right? The tying of the obi, and again, just the intricate design of the costume, her hair, the sword, just this entire design is just ingenious, absolutely genius. So I love this 9.9 cover, but just hoping to get any kind of book in any grade, really. This I wouldn't mind this in 8.5 or above. So this is what we're targeting. But again, even prior to picking up this book, we're really focused on the original art. And let me tell you, if I do get the opportunity to have the commission work, I'm basically not going to ask her to do Psylocke or any of that. What I'm going to ask her to do is I'm going to say, you just do whatever you want to do, and give her the freedom. It doesn't have to be a character. It doesn't have to be I just want her to draw, just approach this in the way she wants to do it. Whatever captures her fancy in that moment as she's drawing this is what I want, because that will be absolutely, I think, incredible for her to approach it that way. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. It doesn't have to be comic book related. To be honest, she could just draw like Jackson Pollock lines. I'd be happy, to be honest. Well, this is not a very good. It's a bad. I should have put a better picture in, but next on my list is George Perez. And George Perez, I've said it many times on this channel, is just one of my favorite artists. And we were fortunate to pick up this book from a trade. And this is his classic cover. This is the first appearance of Scott Lang. And it's, again, just an iconic Avengers cover. And sorry, it looks so off. And this is also another just absolutely beautiful cover. I think I paid $20 for this, 20 plus tax and shipping, so it might have ended up being like 24, somewhere around there, somewhere around $20. And it's a signed copy, and I just love everything about this cover, the Black Widow cover. And yeah, I mean, these are two books that I was just ecstatic to add to my collection. And I really feel like we picked up some, I'm focused on his run on Wonder Woman. As I'm sure a lot of people who collect George Perez are. And that's if we get to my next targeted book, we're targeting this book, the first issue. Beautiful Perez cover there. Love his work on Wonder Woman. We love Wonder Woman. We love this particular run of Wonder Woman because of the artwork. So yeah, this is something. I do see this copy available, and I consistently see available for like $20-$25. So again, just a matter of time. We're eventually going to pick this up. I think this is a good reminder, like when I do these kinds of exercises, a good reminder that, hey, this remains on your list. So as you're kind of checking things off the list, remember to keep this in mind. So that's kind of where we are with this book. All right, so number 4 on my list is John Romita Sr. And as you know, I picked up this book at Emerald City Comic Con. I want to say the grade, I would say it's about a 7.0, 7.5, just based off my initial look at, it could be like worse, or I don't think it'll be better than 7.5, but we're hoping it's definitely, the lowest it can get is like a 6, unless there's like something completely like bogus with the book interior. But I trust the guy I bought it from. I bought it from him before, and he tends to he's not one of those guys who's going to be like, if there's like a tear somewhere in the book, he's going to not let you know about it. So he kind of grades his stuff and prices it rather accordingly. So yeah, I think if we eventually do submit books to CGC, this is among the ones that will be slabbed. I'm hoping for a 7.0. I just think this is the piece. I know in my last video when we covered this list, I was targeting the first work by Romita Sr., which is Daredevil. I forget the number. It's the Spider-Man versus a red costume Daredevil, kind of over the, on top of the skyscrapers fighting. I actually picked up the reprint of that, so I don't necessarily, I think, if anything, picking up a better grade copy of the reprint will kind of scratch that itch. And I know I can always pick up sort of like a mid-grade copy of that book for around $200 if needed, but I think we'll eventually do that at some point. But for me, like this is something I'd want in my collection above anything else. So happy to have this. I feel like this is just one of those books that really define. It's probably his most iconic. I mean, he's done so many iconic works on Spider-Man, so many key books, but for me, in terms of artwork, this, like the Black Widow here with the black cover webbing, there's something about that effect is just incredible. So for me, just really happy to pick this one up. Black, sort of the reverse negative kind of effect there, the black and white. All right, what Romita Sr. book are we targeting? this is another, if we're talking about like iconic pieces of work, this cover here definitely, I would say, exemplifies that. And man, I just love this. First of all, I love Doc Ock and Spider-Man. First, anytime you have like a cover with them fighting, that's kind of like what I love to collect, along with like sidewalk. I just have the things I like. And this, now I don't want to get this particular copy because it looks rather beat up, although I wouldn't mind something like this. I definitely want a higher grade copy of this, and I'm, again, this is just this is definitely going to be added at some point in my collection, in my collecting time period. I just hope I can pick it up sooner rather than later. But at the same time, with all the different books and stuff I want to pick up, it may be a while till it happens. But yeah, there's just so many books I want to pick up, and really it's about, when you have your monthly budget of $30, it's really about tucking that away for the next month, and just having like $300 or $400 to spend on a book like this, right? That's really hard to do. But that's what we're trying to do more of now. So with the Peach Momoko original art coming up, just difficult to foresee when we'd have an opportunity to get this. So anyway, targeting it and having on the target list definitely helps. All right, next we got the top 3 of my artists, and so by this point, if you're following me, you probably know who my top 3 are. And number 3 on my list is John Byrne, and I picked up. This is not the copy I picked up. My copy is actually a lot better condition than this one. My copy is high grade. But yeah, I picked that one up in a trade with a community member, and so pleased with that book. Love this book. And John Byrne is somebody I have actually, outside of Jim Lee, probably the most books of. I just have a lot of Byrne comic books, just like a couple X-Men, like key X-Men books, a lot of his Superman books. I have some She-Hulk, I have some Alpha Flight. West Coast Avengers, Fantastic Four. Even he's just such a prolific artist. It's really not terribly hard to have a lot of Byrne in your collection, and I think for most comic book artists, Byrne is somewhere in the top echelons of, like respected and collected artists. So it's just going to be one of the. I'm not like trying to pick up everything by Byrne. I think if there's like any runs that I'd like to complete, it's his run on Fantastic Four and his run on X-Men would be spectacular. That would be something I'd want to do, but again, it's the price points that make that challenging. But I wouldn't mind picking up all the classic X-Men. That's not a terrible lift. And he did, again, his artwork is there in the classic X-Men as kind of more nuanced reprints. They add different stories to kind of add a little more depth to the original stories. I would love to pick up the first, whatever all the John Byrne kind of original works, the Cochran and Byrne works in that initial post giant size X-Men run. So that's definitely doable and something I'm looking forward to doing. So we'll focus on that. And that would scratch the itch just as much as trying to collect the original books. But this is definitely an original book here that we're targeting for the collection. That's Uncanny X-Men 1-3. But now I've had a couple opportunities to pick this up, kind of mid-grade copies of this for like $40 or $50. And we'll see. Again, this is just, like I said, it's nice to kind of target things and have them as priorities. I almost, I was kind of looking for this at Emerald City Comic Con as well. This is another book I could have come back with. It's just the ASM was there and for a price I like, so we prioritized that above this. But this is definitely, if the ASM wasn't there and this had been there, could have been, we could have come back with either one, to be honest. One thing I will say about, I did look at a copy of this at a vendor at Emerald City Comic Con this past spring. The price they had this for, I think the grade was similar to this, 8.5 or something. They had it priced at like 200 something, and I was just like, I didn't even want to try to talk the person down, and I thought it was just way too much. So, I mean, it is kind of what it's going for, but I feel like this is a book, if you're patient, you can probably pick it up for much less. So that's what we're hoping to do. I'm still hoping to run across this at half price books for like $1 or $2, but or even like under 10 or something, but that's probably unlikely at this point, given how even the half price books people know John Byrne, Chris Claremont, X-Men is their keys. So doesn't take, most everybody knows. Whoops, kind of reviewing my list here. Go back to, all right, so I mean, it's not a surprise, but after number 2 on my list is Mr. Adams, Mr. Neil Adams. And as you know, I got this book graded, got to come back a 4.0, which is lower than what we were expecting. But overall, just happy. It's a really nice presented book. Just happy to have it in my collection. So, this is definitely sort of the most iconic cover in my collection by Neil. And as you know, we tried to pick up Batman 241 at the con. I could not find it in my budget. It was selling, there were like higher grades selling for much, much higher. No one had it in low grade at the con, and it's kind of one of those things. I had an opportunity to pick it up on eBay for I think $250, really low grade copy. But I didn't take advantage of it. Kind of backed out and decided to wait for the con, which I'm glad I did because I picked up a lot of other stuff. But at the same time, when I had the opportunity to pick it up for 250, I did not. And the 250 copy was a 3.5 slabbed. So that's a great price, 3.5 for 250. And I don't know if I'll ever have an opportunity like that. Hopefully I do at some point, but that was a really good price. And I'm just kind of, in hindsight, you kind of regret it. But again, I'm not regretting it because I picked up a lot of great stuff at the con, and I didn't want to go to the con with like just $100 because it would have been, there wouldn't have been much to do at the con with $100. So glad we went with like a full budget there. And again, we went with the intention of bringing this book back, but we brought more back that made up for it. So again, this one continues to be on my want list, and I'd say out of all the books sort of on this list, this is probably the most priority book. And again, this summer with a $400 budget, we could have definitely targeted this book again, and something I may continue to look out for. But again, with the $400, we're definitely going after the Pitch Peach original art. So I just have to keep reminding myself that not to spend. Don't do it, B. Don't do it, Otaku. Come on. All right. Now we get to the number one. I picked up actually I shouldn't say a lot. I recently picked up my 200th book, and I'm going to show that off at the very end. My 200th Jim Lee book. And I'm at 203. So we haven't been picking as many books up, Jim Lee books up. And again, part of it has to do with the fact that, rather than try to spend everything I get each month, I'm trying to be more strategic about what I pick up. And so for me, I'm in a good place with Jim Lee. I don't feel like I have to pick up everything Jim. I still want to pick up everything Jim Lee, but I've got really a lot of the stuff I want in my collection, and now the things I do add are just, they're gonna be just, they're not like must-haves for me. Although there are still a few things like that are must-haves, but I just recently picked this one up for $2. Had no idea such a book existed, and that's what I'm finding out about Jim Lee books. There's a lot of Jim Lee covers and books and things out there that, there was some obscure kind of Wildstorm book, a bunch of Wildstorm books with his covers on it from the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. There's just a lot of Jim Lee artwork out there in comic books. And again, they're just covers, nothing on the interior, nothing like that. Both in DC, both in Image, you're just going to find a Jim Lee cover, and everything in the book is there's nothing remotely done by him, just the cover, just to sell that book, and which is fine. But again, those kinds of books I'm gonna run across them. I've even looked at it and be like, I really don't need to add this to my collection right now, even if it's a quarter. I can always pick up those books, I think, at some point. So I don't need to be dumping quarters into picking up every Jim Lee cover, which is something I probably would have done, early last year. But so that's what I'm saying. I'm in a good place where I don't feel like I need to do that. I still want to pick those things up eventually, but there are some things right now, like I'm showing you on this list, there are things that I really have prioritized for the collection. So I'm really hoping I can stay kind of disciplined enough to say no to like the the oddball Jim Lee cover, whatever, and really just focus on again Jim Lee books that I like. And this is a great example. This is a cover. It's just a cover, but man, what an amazing cover it is! It's a kind of an self homage to his 608 second print. Um, but again, with the vast Barcelona backdrop, different angle there. He's holding the cape. Just really stellar stuff there. So instantly, like again, for the $2, this is instantly one of like my favorite Jim Lee books in the collection. There's so many I can point to. So what are we targeting for Jim Lee? I'm going to tell this story because, so this is what we're targeting. This is actually, I think, just like a print or something, but there's a comic book. It's a variant cover, and I want to pick the comic book up. So that's what we're targeting. Now, there's one thing that bugs me about this cover. I think it's just an amazing cover, one of his best. But Superman doesn't have the red underwear, okay? And he looks naked. I just don't like I don't like the blue suit. I don't like the blue suit Superman. So that's the only thing that bugs me about this entire cover. But outside of that, yeah, just amazing stuff. So this is a book I'm targeting now. I'm going to tell this story because it really is kind of heartbreaking. As you know, I didn't have like a full budget. When I'm able to kind of sell books and stuff, I'll get $10 here, get $15 there. I'm able to pick up some cash, and then that sometimes that immediately goes out to buy books. And I really kind of regret not having enough money over the past couple of weeks. I want to say I've been tracking this book for well over a month, about almost 2 months. I've been tracking a book on eBay for 2 months, and I really should have picked it. Just like told my wife, look, I don't have the money for this right now, but I'm just going to pick it up and kind of pay it forward from my upcoming budget. But I didn't. I was just hoping June would roll around and we'd get to June, and then I'd just be able to draw from the budget in June. There's a signed copy of this book, high grade signed copy, on eBay it was selling for $24. Sorry. It was selling for $20 with $4 shipping plus tax. So it ended up being about like $27 when it was all said and done. $20 for a Jim Lee signed book and a beautiful variant cover to boot. So I didn't have the money, but I was constantly watching it and checking it. And then just last week it sold. And things like that, they eat away at you, man. They eat away. I know it shouldn't, but when am I ever going to run into a signed copy of this book for 20 whatever dollars, right? So I guess I'm trying to keep it out of my mind and just move forward. It's a missed opportunity. Let's just move forward. Don't dwell, or just don't dwell on it. But definitely, I want to pick up this book now. I've always loved this cover, and yeah, would love to have a copy. So I think, if anything, this summer, rather than trying to get it out online or do something, I think I'm going to take. I'm gonna set aside a budget. So we have $400. We're saving $300 for Peach, so we have about $100 to spend at the con. But I think from that 100, I'm also going to reserve myself maybe $30, $10 each month to just pick up books within that $10 budget. And again, there's a lot of Jim Lee stuff you can pick up for $10. I mean, I can go to Jeff's, pick up quarter books, and just find Jim Lee quarter books or dollar books or $2 books, right? So, and that's enough to really sustain me like week by week. Just kind of, that's 4 trips. Like if I go, let's say, that's keeping me busy on the weekends. If I go to like all the different comic book shops on the weekend and just dig and hunt and see what we can find, I'm sure I'll run across this book at some point. I think Jeff might even have this book, but it's priced out. I think it's like selling it for like $10 or so. I don't mind paying $10 if it's high grade. Maybe we'll do that. But again, I'll have opportunities to pick up this book. So, and this is something I'd want in high grade. I wouldn't want to pick it up in like a quarter bin or anything like that. But again, could check Mill Geek. This could be sitting in there at Mill Geek. We'll just have to see. So that's it. That's my list. Just gonna kind of stop sharing, and I'm gonna leave you today with a book. So in case you didn't get a chance to watch that video, I did reveal my 200th book, but what I really want to emphasize about this book is it's really one of my favorites in the collection that I've added recently, and that's this crossover, Wildcat X-Men crossover. So it's a Wildstorm Marvel crossover, and it's this great signed copy by Jim. And this is really sort of the first time Neil Adams and Jim collaborated on the book, because Neil did one of the B cover for this one. So just kind of leaving you with that, and I'm hoping to get to my 300th Jim Lee book. We'll see. We're at 203. It's been slow this year in terms of just, you could probably tell I haven't been picking up books at the clip I was doing last year. Part of it, I guess, is the economy. Part of it is just not trying to add as much, but trying to add quality over quantity. But again, with the Jim Lee stuff, it's just about quantity at the end of the day for Jim Lee stuff. But focusing on some of the quality first for other parts of my collection, and trying to move more books. I'm going to kind of focus on trying to sell stuff again, but for the most part, just chugging away, doing the collector thing. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.